And now to why you're all here, other than the networking side, and that's to hear a phenomenal speaker. Howard Stokel, who I just met today, joined Wawa in 1987 as Vice President of Human Resources. He subsequently served as Senior Vice President of Marketing, Executive Vice President of Retail Operations, and President and CEO from 2005 to 2012. Previously, Howard was employed by the Washington Gas and Energy Company, but he had a lot of retail, the Limited Retail Company and John Wanamaker Department Stores. Since Howard retired at the end of 2012, he's authored a book called The Wawa Way. And it's a very unique way that Wawa has grown. And the brand they've built is such an important brand in a marketplace that Scott Kent, who couldn't be here today, he's at a meeting actually of his stores, is a great epitome of what success Wawa has done with an individual who grew up through the store process and is now a senior leader over there. On April 2014, Wawa celebrated its 50th anniversary. And it is great that Howard gets to talk to us today. So I would like to introduce Howard Stokel from Wawa. Howard.
Thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here today. And I'm really here representing the 22,000 associates at Wawa who make Wawa a living brand in our marketplace. We've been around much longer than 50 years. Our corporate history goes back several hundred years to iron ore in South Jersey. This is our home state. Made fire hydrants, made light posts, made water piping for the city of Philadelphia. That business evolved into a textile business, and we had mills in South Jersey and actually had the biggest cloth baby diaper line in the United States called Red Star. Well, both of those businesses didn't do too well. They were dissolved. Actually made cannonballs at one time, too. And Abe Lincoln was a corporate attorney. We actually have a letter where Abe represented Wawa to collect bills in the Midwest in Illinois. So we're an old company. And George Wood moved to Wawa, Pennsylvania from New Jersey because he liked Media, Pennsylvania, and wanted to change after the mills and the textile plants closed, and happened to buy a dairy up the street from where he bought a house. And the dairy ended up being a viable business, and it's because of that dairy that we went into the convenience store business, because in the 1950s and 60s, home delivery of dairy product began to decline. And home delivery was a very robust business through, most of the 1900s. And Graham Wood, who was running the business at the time, said, well, I have this great dairy. I have all these wonderful people. What do I do to sell dairy product? And he said, I'm going to open a store. And that's how Wawa became reality. And the retail business, which is now 50 years old, is very successful compared to the textile business, compared to the dairy business, and compared to the iron ore business. Well, why the book? And I retired from active duty about 1.5 years ago. And at my retirement, I stood up, and there were a couple thousand associates there who I worked for, and I said, I'm going to write a book about you and to capture the essence of Wawa. So once I said that, I had to do it. And there were times I regretted that I had said that, but, I imposed a deadline, and the deadline was about 15 months from when I made that statement, because I said the book will be ready on April 16th, 2014, when we celebrate 50 years in the retail business. Years ago, we had a consultant by the name of Jim Collins, and he's written books, Good to Great, Built to Last, How the Mighty Fall. And he said something that impressed all of us at Wawa. Your underlying reasons for success, what got you to this point in time, will probably lead to success in the future. At the same time, you have to evolve change. You have to be relevant. And it's that thin line between knowing what to preserve and what to change that leads to success. And one thing that shaped me in my career, when I graduated from Rider College, which is now Rider University, and I've had the distinct honor to serve on their board for 9 years and be involved in their tremendous growth, I went to work at John Wanamaker. And I'll never forget leaving Rider, graduating on a Friday, and going to work on Monday. Walking into the 13th and Market Street stores in Philadelphia, and it was like the Rock of Gibraltar. Huge retail building, tremendous brand reputation. Remember, as a trainee going up to John Wanamaker's office, the way he left it when he passed away, and I said, this is going to be here forever. I'm going to spend 45 years here at Wanamaker's. Well, when's the last time you shopped John Wanamaker? I had a lot of friends that worked at Strawbridge and Clothier. Had a lot of friends that worked at Gimbel's, Litz. And I'll never forget cashing my first paycheck. I had like 6 banks to choose from within a couple blocks, all owned by shareholders in Philadelphia, all locally owned. There are no locally owned banks in Philadelphia. They've all been bought out. And now Philadelphia has become a branch to a lot of other retail and banking institutions. So that stayed with me my entire career. You can't take success for granted because companies do lose their way. And I grew up not far from here in Yarraville, New Jersey. And I can remember retail institutions like Two Guys from Harrison over on Route 206. Well, when was the last time you shopped at Two Guys? I had a friend's father that worked at Nevis Voorhees, a very elegant department store in Trenton, New Jersey. Well, that disappeared from the landscape as well. So the real reason for writing this book was to preserve our underlying reasons for success. Because I'm convinced, I think the people I've worked with are convinced, that that will lead to success in the future. Yes, we will change, and we've changed dramatically in the past, and we'll continue to change. Well, what are those underlying reasons for success? Well, I like to refer to it as the moral compass, what keeps us grounded. And there are basically 3 important things to know about what keeps Wawa grounded and what makes Wawa Wawa. And if you stripped away any one of these 3, we would be a very different company. One is private ownership. We have never been on Wall Street. We've had opportunities to go public. We've been asked to go public. Our customers would love us to go public because they like to buy stock in the company. And Wall Street types would love to take us public. But we realized being a public company would change our culture. We take a long-term point of view. It was about 6, 7 years ago, I gave a speech not too far from here and said that we've yet to open a gas store in Mercer County. It's the only county that we haven't opened a gas store, but we're persistent, we're patient. We will take our time and do it right and work with the appropriate people. And now we have 3 stores that will open in Mercer County, which we're delighted with. And as a privately owned company, you can take a long-term point of view. We've entered the Florida market. We're going to open 25 stores a year. It's a huge commitment. We're not going to make money for the next couple of years. When you put in that amount of capital in that short a period of time, because you have to land bank all these sites, you just don't make money. Well, Wall Street doesn't understand that. But for our shareholders, and I'll talk about our shareholders in a minute, that's the right long-term decision. And for the communities we serve, it's the right long-term decision. So we are absolutely steadfast in our determination to remain a privately held company. We have been for over 200 years, and we trust we will be for the next 200. The second is shared ownership. 38% of Wawa owned by our associates through an employee stock ownership program. And one research study after another will show that employee-owned companies tend to outperform most other companies because the associates not only have a relationship as an employee, but they have a financial security, long-term relationship. And they truly think like shareholders. And when I go to meetings, and I went to a lot of meetings as CEO, I felt like I was talking to shareholders more so than employees. People that really understood the business, had passion for the business. Scott Kent's name was mentioned earlier. He's one of the shareholders. And as CEO, we work for our shareholders. So in reality, we work for our associates. And it's wonderful to work with people and for people that you see each and every day. Now, at one time, we did have a minority investor in our company, and they owned 25%. And after having been an investor for about 25 years, or 5 years, I'm sorry, they wanted to retire from the investment world. So they wanted to take us public. And when we decided not to go public, they wanted to bring in another private equity partner. But we learned that when you have private equity partners, you kind of have a noose around your neck, and they like to control what you do. So we decided to buy out that 25% stake and ask our associates to do it. So our associates had 401ks. invested with companies like Fidelity, and we did the offering to them to buy a bigger stake in the company. And we needed about $45 million at the time to buy out this partner, and we actually raised $59 million through our associates. And at the time, they voted with their heart. But their heart turned out to be a tremendous financial investment, because since that happened about 8-9 years ago, we've dramatically outperformed all Wall Street indexes. So being employee-owned, and we have two big ownership stakes. The Wood family, divided into about 38 trusts, which have been in existence for almost 100 years, and the associate family. So we have two family groups that are very much aligned in the present state of the business and the future state of the business. Private ownership, shared ownership go hand in hand. And the third is what we call servant leadership. You know, being a leader at Wawa, you're never anointed. You have to earn your right to lead. And the real leadership is in the bowels of the organization. The people that work in our stores, the people that run our stores, they make Wawa, Wawa. They make Wawa special. And to be a leader at Wawa, the number one criteria, if you have to bleed goose blood, number one, you have to share the values and walk the talk and be accepted by the people that you work for. And when I became CEO, that was the criteria. When they replaced me, that was the criteria as well. And the interesting thing about Wawa is that to run the company or to be a senior executive, you don't have to be a Wood family member. I was the first non-Wood to become CEO. My successor is a non-Wood. So we run the company very much like a public company, even though we're a family company. Out of 22,000 associates, we have 2 Wood family members involved. Highly unusual for a company that's controlled by family. And if you're a family member and you want to come into the business, how do you do it? You work in the stores. You don't come to the corporate office. You don't sit in an office. You have to pay your dues like anyone else in the business. Those 3 things make Wawa what it is today, combined with a value system. And if there's anything that we talk about each and every day at Wawa are our 6 values. And people would ask me, well, how do you make decisions at Wawa? I say, it's not that complex. We have 6 values. If the decision supports most of these values and doesn't take away from any value, it's a good decision. Value people is number 1, value, because we're a people business. Our associates are the brand. We serve customers. We live in communities that we need to give back to. It's all about people. 2, you have to delight customers. For a morning cup of coffee, you could go to Starbucks. You could go to Dunkin' Donuts. You could go elsewhere. So we need to delight you and, win your heart over a period of time. 3, you have to do the right thing. You have to give back to the community. We've been here in Princeton, the store near the campus, 40 years this year. We've had a partnership with Eden Institute for 35 years, giving back to the community, helping the community, help grow nonprofit organizations. Makes us better because it enriches who we are, and it's a great learning opportunity for our people. The 4th value is do the right thing, or do things right. Not only do we have to do the right thing, we have to do things right. And that means when you want to get in and out of our stores fast, we've got to be fast. So we have engineers that time everything that you do. We know exactly how long it takes to have gas pumped. We know exactly how long it takes to order a hoagie and pay for it. Because speed is everything in our business. And if you want a hoagie, you want it made right. If you want coffee, you want it hot. So there has to be a lot of attention to detail, and we have to do things right. 5, we have to embrace change. We're a very different company than we were when we started in the convenience store business. We were the alternative to the supermarket back in 1964. Almost all of our product made it home to the refrigerator. Today, we're a dashboard diner for a car. Most of our product never makes it home. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, and I need it now. We didn't sell gas when we opened store 1. Today, we're a big gas retailer, which I'll talk about. And last but not least is passion for winning. And we want to do better each and every day. We compete with ourselves. People say, well, who's your competitor? Well, everyone competes with Wawa. Other convenience stores, QSRs like McDonald's and Burger King. McDonald's is our biggest customer today. They will tell you they worry more about us than anyone else in the marketplace. We compete with drugstores, dollar stores because they serve food, and we compete with ExxonMobil, Hess, and all the big oil retailers. So the true competition isn't with everyone else, because you're worried about everyone else, it would drive you up a wall. And we believe in the blue ocean strategy, go where others haven't gone. You know, restaurant quality food with convenience, with fuel, and do it better and better and better. So we love to compete with ourselves. So those 6 values, along with a moral compass, make Wawa unique. They will not change. And whoever may be here in 50 years speaking on behalf of Wawa, I trust they'll be speaking about the same values. One thing that we are very proud of is that we are a servant-led company. You know, I didn't know Graham Wood, who founded the convenience store business, but those who did talk about Graham, and it's written in the book. He was an individual that led by example. He shed the limelight. He believed in the power of the team. Based on his military experience, the power of the team. He was extremely humble, really shy, made people feel good. He was, accessible to people and had tremendous attention to detail. Those qualities are still with the company today. I mean, there are a couple of stories about Graham that I really want to share with you. One was we had a softball team on our campus at Red Roof, which is our corporate office. And he would go out and watch. And one night he noticed this lady who was watching, and she had 2 kids. And he said to her, well, why are you playing softball? Don't you like softball? Everyone else is out there playing. And she said, why are my 2 kids here? I can't play. He said, I'll watch your kids. You go out there and play. After the game was over, Len said, thank you, Mr. Wood. Thank you for watching my kids. He went back every Tuesday night and watched her kids while she could play softball. When he was very ill and he was leaving the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, he made it a point in an ambulance to stop and say thank you to people, and made it a point to even look at a new store site that he was worried about as to whether or not it would be done on time. That's the type of leader he was. That's servant leadership. And the real reason he opened Wawa stores was to preserve the jobs of the wonderful people in the dairy. That was the reason. And the family fought him. The banks fought him. No one wanted to loan him money. That's why Wawa became reality. He did the right thing to serve other people, and it turned into a success. His cousin took over 35 years ago, Dick Wood, and served as CEO for 30 years. And again, very similar characteristics in terms of down-to-earth. He maybe was more outgoing, extremely humble people. You'd never know these people were CEOs. Always put the business first and believed passionately that he wanted to share the ownership of the business with the associates who made the business wonderful. So we teach servant leadership. We preach servant leadership. There are other companies out there that practice servant leadership. Wegmans is a great servant-led company. Southwest Airlines is a great servant-led company. Starbucks is considered one. So those 3 things really, we think, go hand in hand. Private ownership, shared ownership, and servant leadership.